From the industrial wastelands of Michigan to the fruited plains of Iowa, this is the American Reef Factory.
You are the dead. Remain exactly where you are. Make no move until you are ordered.
We burn them to ashes and then burn the ashes. That's our official motto.
Now we can see you. Clasp your hands behind your heads. Stand out in the middle of the room. Stand back to back.
Who can explain the fascination of fire? What draws us to it, whether we're young or old?
Here come the candles to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head.
And welcome to the American Reef Factory podcast. This is Nathan.
This is Conlon.
Andrew.
Big show for you tonight. Lots of erotic thrillers. Or at least,
Hey, I really liked Relax. Go to it.
yeah,
Well, to go to.
little Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
I've never actually heard the whole song, so that was nice to hear the whole song.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, you'll have to carry the show because me and Nathan are we did a podcast yesterday. So
Oh, okay, shit. Well, in that case, on to my agenda.
no, I was thinking that like it's gonna be weird for me and Nathan because like it's like didn't we already do this? Like, but yeah, we.
Sorry, I guess I.
No, it wasn't an American Reef Factory podcast. We have a new podcast coming out, which is called The Verhoeven Effect, where we talk about well, for this season we're comparing three different police procedurals of network television because we don't really watch network television, so we're here to find out what's the big deal about network television.
And what deeper meaning does it have for the society at large?
So we're covering NCIS New Orleans, The Mentalist, and Miami Vice.
Wow. It's a gambit.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's like you watch three of them in a row, and it's like, I just watched three completely different things.
And then, like, yeah, the downside is there's some podcasts I listen to where it's like they cover like every episode, they just cover one episode of a show. But like with those podcasts, this is like their second or third time viewing it, and it's kind of like all analysis. And then there's other shows where they'll watch in three episode chunks because like they want to churn through the series as fast as possible. So here I have a combination of it, except we've never seen these. Well, I mean, Nathan's seen Miami Vice, but we've never really seen these shows before. And so it's like, well, we like The Mentalist, but now I can't just watch I can't just binge watch The Mentalist. I have to wait to do an episode to watch it. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Verhoeven Effect. It will be coming to various podcasts. Wherever you get your podcast from, it'll be there. And we're distributing it through Anchor FM. So,
Yep.
but I have to edit it, so maybe it'll fall apart, and it's like it's not working, and then we never release it.
Yeah, but it was fun.
Yeah. Surprised we dragged an hour and a half out of 3 episodes of network television.
Yeah, well, we're also kind of explaining what we're doing.
Yeah, it was about like 25 minutes of explanation.
And then we actually kind of did it, too. So,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Good follow-through. I mean, for us.
Yeah.
We didn't end up talking about, like, nuclear submarines halfway through.
No.
So that's good for us.
Although I started to listen to some of it, it's like because on the podcast, because we do a live thing on here on YouTube just basically for backup, and then we don't restrict ourselves here, and nor do we for the recording of the podcast. But I'm going to edit out the swearing to get a wider release, and like in I don't know. Like maybe the first 5 minutes I swear like 3 times. I'm like, I thought I just swore the one time. It's like, oh damn it. I'd be careful with that. Yeah, I don't want to like it's kid friendly and then just like there's like 40 fucks just scattered throughout.
You know how people are raising kids nowadays. Maybe they're like, oh, fuck, finally, a program. To...
Well, we're trying to get as much wide stream like availability for this as we can because we are attempting to monetize it. So,
Unlike this podcast, that always remain for the people and by the people.
This is
for
totally
for
free.
no one by no one.
This is for the working man right here.
And
You
then
guys work?
Occasionally.
You guys are getting paid? No.
I get paid in wonderful movies and TV shows to watch for free. Through this week's sponsor, Commons streaming device. Do you have Commons streaming device in your home? You definitely should. I can watch things I never thought possible.
It only costs being a friend.
I occasionally have to be nice to someone.
If that works for you, maybe a Commons streaming device works for you as well. Check in occasionally with a friendly email or a phone call.
Conlin's fifth fire stick can be yours.
For the low price of your dignity. No, I haven't even used your Fire Stick that often recently because half the time it doesn't, like if you leave it plugged in for too long, it totally like shits the bed and doesn't even like let you connect to the internet. So
Yeah,
it's like,
I think it gave you an old one, so yeah, it does like it doesn't act, but I mean it works occasionally, but
no, I do watch it occasionally. Just I was watching Criterion in my living room on my Xbox today because I set it up through there because otherwise I couldn't get the app to like show up on the search bar for my smart TV, so I don't know what the hell that means. I mean, it's a Google Play Store thing, and it's a Google.
I got to work through the Silk browser on my Kindle Fire, so but I know you have an older one, so I'm not sure if it's weird about that. So
what other old common devices can you get? I have too many of your things. I really need to start paying you monthly for a subscription.
I now have a third Kindle Fire, so it's okay.
Oh.
They're having the Prime Day sale, and and because the F1 app was acting weird on my other Kindle Fire, I was like, I'll get another one, why not? And then I got the case that's like a keyboard, so it's like a little computer. It's a cute little laptop.
You'll have to remind me when we finally get together in person that I should pay you money for all the nice things you give me for free. I was actually thinking about paying for the Criterion channel, and you kind of beat me to it. So, Congratulations.
It's for the show. So.
Oh, I know.
Show must go on. So, how's let's get into some non-controversial stuff now. How's your vaccine hesitancy doing there in your state?
Well,
Cases
I would have to say that
the cases are going up. It's back to kind of like old numbers, but
The death isn't as high though, is it?
no, it's just well, it's like even if you're vaccinated, you can still test positive for COVID-19.
Oh yeah, that happened to someone out of my wife's work.
Yeah.
He didn't even know he was going to get a surgery, and they gave him a COVID test. Like, oh, you've got coronavirus. Like, what? So you didn't know? I was like, no, I had the vaccine like 2 months ago. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you can't do the surgery right now.
Because pretty much like 100% of the deaths due to COVID right now are all unvaccinated people.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that's like, good, fuck them, but that's cruel.
I'll be at the same time because I was going to say I just had a conversation with one of my unvaccinated coworkers this week. Another guy in our apartment that was unvaccinated went to a super spreader Christian camp event last week all week, so he has COVID now. But literally, the guy I was talking to this week was trying to BS me with, like, literally, like, oh, do you know you have a 0.2% chance of contracting COVID if you don't get the vaccine? And it was like, I think that's kind of bullshit numbers. They only have a 2% chance of getting COVID. That seems fucking low.
Yeah, if it was that low, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
He was like, oh, if you get the vaccine, you have a 0.03 or 0.04, like basically 4% chance of a 2% chance. And I was like, you gotta be shitting me right now, right? Like,
yeah, the magnets in the vaccine attract the COVID now.
well, because he was like, well, what happens 10 years from now when everybody's dead or horribly mutated from the vaccine? And I was like, well, no. but
That doesn't happen, so you don't have to worry about that.
Doctor, tell me it's not true. I'm not a doctor. Fucking right.
I was like, yeah, something, mutation wise or whatever, because I do the guy that runs my hobby shop. Like I asked him, and it really pissed him off. If I asked him if he had a vaccine or not, it wasn't because I had some ulterior motive to convince him for the betterment of mankind or anything. It's just that his son's friend apparently just had a giant reaction to his, and his heart swelled and shit. And he went to the hospital, so he was like, "Oh no, we're not getting the vaccine anytime soon. I think there's too many side effects or whatever." And it's like, okay.
Yeah, I overheard one guy where there's a guy talking to his friend, but they didn't really seem to be like that friendly. And the guy was telling a story, and I have no idea if it's true, where it's basically like he died from getting the COVID vaccine. But then like he explains that like the guy has like an uncomfortable fear of needles, and basically had a panic attack getting the vaccine and died from a heart attack. It wasn't the vaccine. And then the other guy listening to it was like, damn, I'm going to take my chances. Like, he's not going to get the vaccine now because the other guy died of not COVID or not the vaccine.
I was surprised it wasn't more like really, really blatant where it's like, Henry, he got the vaccine. And that night he died to get hit by a train. Goddamn vaccine. He would have lived if it wasn't for that vaccine.
I'm going to take my chances. I'm not going to get the vaccine, and I'm totally going to walk on train tracks with headphones on.
Drunk. Yeah, I don't. Because this is our first week with no masks here last week.
Oh, okay.
And it was nice because I don't have to have a mask on my face in a 100-degree plant. And I also drive a forklift, and I'm not really close to anyone ever. It's kind of why I picked that job. It's like, oh, I don't have to talk to people? Yeah, I'm in. But there's still, like, the rule is, like, they're not asking you for your thing, but it's like if you're unvaccinated and you get sick or whatever, it's kind of like the rules are you have to wear a mask if you're unvaccinated at work. So if you get sick, don't expect us to be like, well, okay, yeah, where's your vaccine card? Because I'll happily show anyone mine as long as I don't have to do that. But I'm just wondering, it's like, yeah, we're going to get a few weeks of this and going to go right back to this shit because, for reasons, whatever reasons people have.
Yeah, I've seen people like starting to wear a mask again. I'm like, uh-oh, did I miss something?
Well, yeah, the CDC is going to maybe start recommending masks in places now again.
Well, yeah, there's one. It was like the WHO was recommending masks, and then the CDC director said, no, if you're vaccinated, you're good. But that was like 2 weeks ago, so who knows?
Yeah, I'm not wanting to go back to that, so I hope they just decide to punish the unvaccinated.
Well, I got a new mask just in case, but I just haven't.
Well, I have to wear whatever shit they give me. Like I can't wear my own, so. And they actually did a good job with it. They're just not big enough for my head, and I just don't want to do that. I don't live in Bangladesh, we don't have open trench sewers here where we need to wear protective coverings over our faces. So it's like, I do not want to go back to this nonsense.
You should buy a mask with like custom printing on it, where it's like, I got one of each, and now I have a 6-foot dick and I can fly, or whatever. It's just like literally like false advertisement the other way. I mean, if people are going to, not that the side effects for the vaccines are bullshit, but there's some of them. Like I was still trying to explain yet again the other day to the guy. It's like the blood clot side effect is supposedly just because you have an allergic reaction to that component of the vaccine, and if you got COVID, you still would have that same blood clot develop in your brain. So either way, you're going to get that blood clot. It's not really anything anybody wanted, but at the same time, it's like, it doesn't, because his whole purpose is that you shouldn't be demanded, because I was telling about like, oh yeah, they fired the first 9 people in a hospital in New Jersey because they wouldn't get the shot. He's like, that's wrong. And it's like, well, they got told over and over again, and then they got fired. So it's not like it was like immediate. It was over months they had to make this.
But I bet this guy will listen to any like negative thing you bring out. But like, how about the weird like side benefits of the vaccine, where it's like, oh, people are magically like resistant to almost like all diseases now after the vaccine. Well, not all diseases, but there is like things like just from getting the vaccine, they're finding surprising things like, oh, people are more resilient to things that it's not even intended for. It's like,
Yeah, like colds. The common cold might disappear because it's in the same family of viruses. We've never poured trillions of dollars into common cold cures because it wasn't a necessity.
No, and I mean, at the same time, I mean, that's nice, but my mom was telling me the other day, because I was talking to her for a little bit, where she was talking about, like, common respiratory infections need to come back because people haven't been exposed to them, like rhinovirus and stuff like that. So I don't know. Like, for every positive, there seems to be, like, a negative interaction with this, where it's like, oh, this virus is like the flu, like, didn't rate as heavily this winter because of masks, but also it seems like something else happened. So, I mean, there's good and bad, but at the same time, I don't know why people just in general, because he was like, oh, you should.
Anecdotally, it's been all good for me.
No, I mean, it has for me too. It's not anything. I don't think any of the news is bad. It's just literally like trying to talk to people about, like, oh yeah, you need this vaccine.
There's only been like literally 2 billion doses administered throughout the world, so it's not like almost anything can happen and be attributed to it.
Tsunami hits Morocco. Oh my god, the vaccine. No, it's something we're literally having an argument with people over and over again about why this is necessary and why people should get it. Not because I want everybody to ride the indoctrination train or anything, but at the same time, it'd be nice if people just like realize this isn't the first time we've had to do this. You know, for not like anything where it's not tested for a long time or anything, but just a rollout of mass proportions to indoctrinate and to make everybody immune to a horrible disease that kills people. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
Something like this en masse was smallpox. But yeah, you didn't want to get that because that had like a 30% kill rate. And if it didn't kill you, it fucked your heart up. And there's all kinds. So there's no more smallpox in the world, except in a freezer in Russia and America, just in case.
And France.
Oh, and France had one too? Okay. Yeah. If we don't mix it with our
and
yogurt.
you guys are fucked. Because I have the vaccine.
No. Yeah, does it leave a scar anymore? Like, is it on mom and dad?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just an injection.
Okay. Yeah, because the smallpox vaccine in the 50s or in the 60s and stuff was pretty brutal.
Yeah, people had scars from them. Yeah. It's like, what's that scar from?
People still got it. Like, nobody was boycotting. It's like, look at the scar and the side effects it gives you. This is fake bullshit.
Well, I think back then, too, people believed their government did something for them. Now I have to have conversations with people where they try to explain to me that, like, Hillary Clinton was running around with a goat mask and a sword killing babies. It's like, whoa, wait a minute. This isn't like, do I think Hillary Clinton and her husband like had economic policies that maybe didn't work out for the heartland of America? Yes. Do I think she's a blood drinking devil worshiper? No. But that holds equal weight in some people's minds. Both things being like possible and provable. It's like, no, that's not true. But good luck with Bigfoot and all your friends.
I would approach that from a different angle. It's like, yes, I believe that killing a baby with a sword is the most economical and quick way to kill a baby. But at the same time, it's like, I know Hillary Clinton doesn't care about economics. she would go around with a machine gun or maybe some C4 and kill babies. So I believe this whole thing is bogus.
Yeah, I had a fun thing where I had to bring out my shot records for something at the University of Iowa, and I was like went in for like, I think I have bronchitis, and the doctor was like looking over my sheet and was like, why did you get this shot? I was like, oh, I was in the military. He's like, oh, okay. That was some rare case.
Yeah, you can't get smallpox vaccines anymore as a civilian. They only give them out in the military. Now they have a bunch of them when it happens again. They have a bunch of them somewhere, but
so why not just inoculate the population as it is all the time?
I think there's a lot of side effects associated with it.
And also, like,
that's
it's probably expensive for a disease that's like, well, it's 100% gone, except for in test cases. So.
Yeah.
And then, what was the other thing? And then there was a fun little statistic that, like, I guess the military's had 52 deaths from COVID-19 this year from people, like, because apparently people are refusing to get vaccinated in the military. It's like, You went to boot camp and you just took whatever they shot in you. Unless you had a red dog tag which said, like, I'm allergic to this. You just took whatever they shot in you.
Yeah, that's. I had no idea. I didn't think that was optional.
Well, I mean, I guess after they're in, boot camp, you're not going to sit there and argue with people. So
This is my line in the sand. Boot camp. Well, here's your train ticket home then, or to Leavenworth, or wherever. Whatever happens at those places.
Well, there's also been 300 deaths from suicide. So yeah.
Oh, is that still going on like crazy?
Oh yeah.
It abated some.
No, it's still like the.
Numbers.
It's still like no military in the world can kill our military more than themselves.
Yeah.
It's not. Well, I don't want to joke about it, but that's the weird thing.
How many gun cleaning deaths have been this year?
I don't know.
It's like he served 9 years in the military. He died cleaning his rifle. What? It's like he cleaned those loaded and pointed at your face. I don't know how you do that. No, it's funny because like the military, like, oh, we had 52 deaths from COVID this year, but they don't talk about like, oh, how many deaths from sexual assault and rape? How many deaths from suicide? How many deaths from training practices gone wrong? We don't talk about that shit, but we talk about COVID.
I watched this thing, this Frontline thing about the neo or the far right people in Germany that were in the military. Like they had to disband a branch of their special forces because it was so profligate with basically Nazis. And I didn't realize that politicians had been murdered in Germany in the last 3 years by groups like this. Like I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I had no idea that was going on. And the government's a real soft touch with those guys because they won't charge them with terrorism. They'll charge them with like whatever crime they committed, and they'll get like the usual weird European like, oh, you shot someone in the face. Well, here's 6 years in prison, in Plato prison, where you're gonna like do art and listen to music and have a private cell and like vegan meals and stuff. It's like,
yeah, really be rehabilitated into society.
Well, I don't think all prisons should be punishment, but when the guy who blasted all those kids on that island in Norway is like, oh, he'll be eligible for parole, at a certain time, and meanwhile he's doing yoga and has access to an Olympic-sized swimming pool and can write poetry and stuff. It's like, that doesn't sound like I killed a bunch of kids punishment. But maybe the Norwegians know something we don't.
Well,
yeah,
our prisons are terrible. So,
what's
but I mean, that's what we like. But isn't that what like people just secretly like about our prison system? It's like it's what we imagine the hell it is, and it's like, yeah, that's the way we want it.
Yeah,
we don't want to rehabilitate these people. We just want them to suffer forever.
Yeah,
but also like, every time we like think of prison, like we immediately go to like maximum security prison. Like not every prison is maximum security prison where it's like full of murderers and rapists and all that stuff.
Yeah, we always think like every prison in the U.S. is Pelican Bay or something. Like, no, it's not. Well, we do when it comes to our prisons. Like we're like right there with Russia and China in terms of just raw brutality and murder in our maximum security prisons.
Yeah.
Like the one in Russia that's really weird is the Black Dolphin. It's like you're in a cell 23 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you get 1 hour to be like hustled into a yard to walk in a circle by yourself. But those are for the worst people, like because they did away with their death penalty in the 90s. Oh. Well, formally did away with it. Believe me, if you cross the wrong guy, you're going to get shot.
There's plenty of accidents that can happen.
Yeah. Plenty of like press reporters and people in opposition parties that mysteriously get exposed to nerve gas or nerve chemicals that are only made in Russia. So yeah, they don't have the death penalty in their courts. But yeah, like if you're a multiple murderer or something, you go to this place, and it's like in the middle. It takes like 23 hours to drive there from Moscow or something. Like it's in the middle of nowhere.
It's like one of those, even if you have survival training, you escape, you're gonna die.
Yeah, you're not gonna live.
I apologize for the 24th of July happening outside my window right now because people are setting off fireworks like crazy at the moment.
No,
Yeah, I don't know if
It-
either some
it-
fucking moron thinks it's 24th of July is
It's-
a real thing, or
It's not that loud. It just kind of sounds like popcorn's popping in the microwave, not really a blast going on.
I know, but at the same time, it's just like I don't know why the hell some jackass is setting off a full 4th of July fireworks display 20 days too late.
I guess he decided, like, well, we better. I'm never going to use these again. Better set them off.
They started putting expiration dates on fireworks. Like, damn. You see some of the creative names this year for fireworks that were sold, like COVID Destroyer,
No,
or some of the other shit I've seen on Facebook where it's like, really, I didn't know they named with such brazen names. That's pretty cool. I don't. Does that affect sales in any way? Do more people buy it when it's called the COVID Destroyer versus the Big Bang or something like that? Like, how do you do that?
I don't know. I never really. I know there's people here that get into like industrial strength fireworks, like stuff that's so big and powerful it looks like something a city would set off. It's like, well, how much are you spending on the 4th of July? It's like $20,000.
It seems like it because somebody told me this year fireworks went up 3 times the price they were last year.
Yeah.
So it's like, goddamn, if I had that kind of money to blow, I think I'd use it to buy a car or like refinance my house or something. Like,
We didn't do any fireworks this year. We went around and looked, and it's like, yeah, I'm not paying that much money. It's stupid.
I don't have any desire.
Well, I used to love fireworks when I was a kid. Well, I used to love fire in general when I was a kid.
Well, you and your friends would play Bottle Rocket Wars, which
Oh yeah.
in theory sounded cool, but in retrospect, it's like, well, that was entirely dangerous and stupid.
I still have both eyes, so it worked. I actually wore safety glasses and shit. Like I would get some from Dad. He's like, yeah, we're gonna shoot bottle rocket, and I got hit in the face. But we also like made launchers. Like
Yeah.
we just have like PCV pipes, and metal pipes with handles.
Yeah, so what they
Some-
do, they just have a tube, and you put the bottle rocket on the end of the tube, and then basically, like, once the wick starts to go down, it drops down the tube and then shoots out. So it's basically like a little gun. And they like built little forts, and they're shooting at each other. And then also you have like the Black Cat ones, and those are hand grenades. You light those and toss it at the other guy's walls.
It was great. It was terrific. The fact that nobody got hurt was amazing. Of course, one jackass bought like one of them screaming Mimi, like mini rockets.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're not, he fired that and it like stuck in someone's, it was like someone had a cardboard thing they were hiding behind and it like almost went through it. It's like, yeah, we're not doing shit like that. Impale someone.
The other thing I did with my friends with bottle rockets is we kind of play like bottle rocket roulette. It wasn't really that dangerous, but it was just kind of like, basically you just take a bottle rocket. When it gets near the time where it's to take off, you spin it and throw it in the air. It might come back at you. You don't know.
yeah, I know we did something different with bottle rockets. We always broke this guide stick off and then lit the fuse and held the rocket in and then threw it when it got really close to going off or whatever. So that was dumb.
That's probably the most dangerous thing because, like, yeah, if you're holding onto a bottle rocket when it explodes, that can take your fingers off.
No, I know. That's why it's like, I don't know, like our cousin started it or whatever. He was like, oh yeah, it's bottle rocket fire or whatever. And like we had glass soda bottles to do it too, but like Nathan's, pipe or whatever. But at the same time, it was interesting just like breaking the stick off and just like, nope, wait until like a second before the fuse blows, just throw it at somebody. It's like, yeah, okay. Yeah. 'Cause I don't even know how far they go before they explode. Is it like pretty instantaneous or does it go for a little
20
while?
feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
like 20 feet, yeah. They probably have some
Roman
crazy...
candles. That was next level. I never got into the Roman candle stuff. Some guys did, but that was next level. It's like, no, I'm not standing.
Aren't those safer or not?
Well, no, because they're like burning balls of sulfur that are
Oh.
flying. It's like the bottle rocket could hit you and like bounce and maybe explode on the ground. Like bottle rockets didn't have like pressure switches. They just hit you and bounce off sometimes. But yeah, the Roman candles are just like flaming balls of gas. It's like, no, I'm not doing that. Just wear an old T-shirt. No.
Yeah, I've never used a Roman candle. I've just like seen it and mentioned often.
Yeah, they're cool, but my favorite thing now is to get like the big giant roll of firecrackers and just unroll them and set them off like in a string. It's a nightmare to clean up. I did like 10,000 on about one time.
I saw some weird YouTube video, or it seemed like it was out of Mexico or something, and like people had like this giant balloon just filled with firecrackers, and like they let it go, and then it starts to explode, and then everybody's like, "Oh, this is a bad idea." They're basically like taking artillery fire from this firework balloon.
Yeah. Yeah, there's like the burning embers just falling on the crowd. It's like, yeah, this didn't work out good. They do crazy fireworks in China too. They have like, they'll have like mortar shells they shoot off that like it takes a truck to load it into the tube. And then it'll go off and make a big explosion. You're like, wow, that's cool. And then you'll have the secondary, like the little trees that shoot off. But this thing's like, it's just massive. And they'll do that all the, for their New Year or whatever. It's all kinds of stuff like that. They get very experimental. But,
I know people that just like setting them off in the daytime to hear the explosions.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Wayne, some people just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Regardless if it costs that many thousands of dollars to set them off. If I paid $6,000 for fireworks, we're gonna set them off where I can see the whole display, not just the boom sound. I can just YouTube that.
Invite the neighbors. Witness me.
Well, I like it when they'll always have the fireworks disaster videos on YouTube, and like the cities will be setting off these like professional displays, and something will go wrong, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is amazing!" And then before you know it, they're running away because they're just exploding redundantly right on top of each other, and everyone's like,
"Yeah, there was like a computer error, and like the thing like they were supposed to." And somehow it fired every firework at once rather than like in a sequence. It was just like a bomb going off.
Like 7 people got killed. But at first you watching it, people are like, "Wow, this is nuts! They're really going for it this year." And then they soon realize that like they're just leaving their lawn chairs and stuff. Right.
I think there's one in California. There was a video where it's like a firework factory caught on fire, and it was like fun for a moment, and then it's like a nuclear explosion after a while. It's like, those people are dead.
Worst one ever, I think, was in Belgium or someplace you don't think of.
It was in the Netherlands because it was a company that like had originally just made fireworks, like high-end ones, and they gradually expanded, and then they started importing fireworks instead of making them because they had so much business. And so they literally got permission from the city because they ran out of concrete bunker space because they originally, I think they said each bunker was capacity for 50,000 tons of explosives. But they packed like 450,000 tons of explosives in each one because they just didn't have enough room. And they got like 6 shipping containers they authorized for to put stuff outside, but to obviously be sealed and washed at all times and be spaced farther apart. But they decided they needed more, so they borrowed in 8 more shipping containers on the down low and filled them with as much explosives as it would hold. And then in one bunker, a fire started because somebody didn't clean up their workstation. And then it spread to every other bunker and shipping container and basically blew up the whole city and leveled it to the ground, somehow only killing 24 people, injuring like 1,000. Yeah. And it was right next to a residential area too, and that's what changed their laws there to actually have inspections, because they actually passed their safety inspection a week before it went off. And they, like eventually made it so they had to move it to the middle of nowhere, not just like in the middle of a city and shit. It's like, yeah, I can see why.
Seems like a good plan.
That it vaguely reminds me of like state ordinances. Like, do you remember that Le Mans? I think it was 52, where like something like 140 people were killed because of a car wreck and fire.
Yeah.
So after that, Switzerland banned all racing until last year because of that incident. I believe it was Switzerland. So like,
seems to have a little sting for them, huh?
And so like, and other countries did too, but they rescinded them at some point. But like, it wasn't until I think last year when Formula E came in and did a race, or not last year, maybe it was 2 years before. Formula E did a race there, and that was the first race in Switzerland since the 50s.
Yeah. And then of course there's the best one of all, the what was it, the rocket fuel factory that was actually in the desert.
Oh yeah.
Remember, that's got the cool picture where you can see the shockwave coming.
Yeah, that was they
Knocked the camera over, and they were like 2 miles away.
yeah, they make the plant made peroxide.
Yeah,
Which is what do you call that? It's not a fuel, it's like it's something you combine with fuel to like keep it down.
oxidizer.
Yeah, oxidizer, yeah.
Yeah.
So tense per oxide.
Yeah, but essentially it was a bunch of rocket fuel exploded under pressure, and I forget why that one happened.
Well, there's a weird one because of the flooding in China. There was like an aluminum factory that just exploded, and it's like,
Oh yeah,
that looks bad.
Yep.
Why did an aluminum factory blow up because of flooding? I don't know, but
We had an aluminum explosion at one of the plants I worked at here. Luckily, no one got hurt, but the place, when you, especially aluminum, but all metals, when you have molten aluminum, they had a roof leak, and a bunch of water hit it, and it explodes. Because what happens is it goes into the aluminum and then forms a pocket, and then that water just expands like, at the speed of sound or whatever. We thought it was like something exploded, like, because we were all there working, and then all of a sudden I didn't hear the explosion, but there's dust and shit coming from the ceiling because it's always loud as hell in there. And then all of a sudden, and they're like, "Oh, get the fuck out of here!" Something happened. And it turns out a little bit of water fell into the molten aluminum vat and covered a guy with aluminum, and he lived. He was badly burned, but he was back to work in like a month.
Not too bad.
Yeah. Well, aluminum's one of those. All those will do that. Aluminum's one of the worst. So's brass. There's something about how, like steel, the water almost vaporizes on the surface. Like it'll do it, but if it brass and aluminum, for some reason, like the water will actually penetrate the surface, fall in, and then form that gas pocket inside. Because I remember what was it? The place in Indiana that had some brass plant, and I think like 20 people died because some water got in the brass thing, and it just blew them to bits. The explosion, because this was a huge brass, like it was like a cupola melting system, so it probably had 2,500 pounds of brass in it or something. And yeah, when the water hit that, it just exploded, and it's like blew people to vapor. Those were the lucky ones because the people that got covered with molten brass died horribly. And that place never reopened.
and then there's that one in China where it's like a chemical factory in like the city, and there's like plenty of cell phone videos of that, which is pretty
That's
crazy.
like where the woman's speaking in broken English, like, "Are we
Yeah.
danger?" And then all of a sudden the windows are like, like, "Yes, I think we're in danger."
And then of course that one was it Beirut last year,
Oh yeah, that was insane.
just
What
destroyed
was
the
that?
whole city.
Fertilizer?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It was something. It was either chemical that reacted with water. So I can't remember what the hell the damn thing was. But yeah, that was fucking insane.
It's some something like that's just like if you let it sit, it basically turns into TNT.
Yeah, it's stuff you don't do. And did you hear? Oh, speaking of Lebanon, did you hear the report from the UN on Lebanon today?
Oh.
No.
70% of the country is in danger of losing their water supply because the system is so antiquated and been so damaged from years and years of war and neglect and all that. It's like, yeah, you're going to be bathing in shit. Your water system is terrible, and of course, the Lebanese government has no means to fix that. But I mean, you're talking about millions and millions and millions of people that are just not going to have access to clean water anymore. And in what was ostensibly a modern country at one time.
And now, isn't it like one of the worst countries for like inflation and stuff like that, along in Venezuela? Because like their currency is worthless now too.
I'm not sure about that. I know they've just had a series of they won their independence because they were a French colony for a long time, and they won their independence, and then they were doing okay for a while because a lot of people who live here are from Lebanon, and then they seem to go to these religious governments or whatever, and then being invaded by Israel a couple times because they were sponsoring terrorism, Yeah, so it's and then it killed a bunch of Marines there too. When we were there, that was in the 80s. Killed like what 300 people
Yeah.
in a bombing, the barracks bombing, and then we
Yeah.
left. But then remember that scene in Lord of War where they left all the weapons there, and they said, "Yeah, Reagan wants every man, woman, and child in this country to have a fully automatic weapon, to disintegrate into hell." And he got his wish. That was in retaliation for the barracks bombing. Like, yeah, put a gun in everyone's hand. Good guys, bad guys, don't matter. Give them all guns and see where they go. It's like, we've already paid for the guns. And the guys that were going to use them are dead. So
I have the F1 update.
yes, this was an exciting one.
We had the British Grand Prix last week. And we had... did you watch the sprint race at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So yeah, that I guess I'll explain to you, Andrew. I explained it last week, but they had a different format this time. Usually you have
Right back.
you have what they call free practice, where they basically just take the car out and test certain things for like race scenarios or qualifying scenarios. Because when you qualify, you're basically just trying to get the fastest lap you can, which means you have the car on very low fuel. And because it's low fuel, it's lower weight, and so it can perform better. So usually you just have qualifying where it's like it's a 3-round knockout thing. So it's like each round, the 5 slowest drivers are knocked out, and then it goes Q1, Q2, Q3, and that sets the grid for the race. So here they had qualifying on Friday, and that set the grid for the sprint race. Or sprint qualifying, or what F1 is just calling sprint. They seem to be... There's a lot of people like doing acrobatics to be confused by this, but yeah, it's just a sprint race, and then basically the order that race ends up in, that sets the grid for race day.
Okay.
So they're just trying to make things more exciting for the whole weekend. Because usually it's like a free practice is fucking boring, and it's like so you have like a Thursday where it's just free practice, and then you have a Friday where it's like, oh wait, no, you have Friday is free practice, and Saturday you have another free practice, but then you have qualifying, so that's kind of exciting, and then Sunday of the race. But so this time, and then so it makes every day exciting. So there's more people there, and Great Britain had opened up, and so there was like 300,000 people there for the race, and about that many for the sprint race. So they made a lot of money that day.
I mean, I think like the qualifying laps are basically just drop the lowest 5, but have them do like 3 people at a time or something like that. Not crowd the track, but like give them somebody to go against, and maybe it'd be because I mean, like, isn't it true like mostly like the starting position grid like doesn't change like a hell of a lot over the race because usually the top drivers are the ones that win anyway and the ones that have better qualifying times.
Yeah, well, in the where it specifically helped, like there's teams like Alfa Romeo who they qualify terribly, but during a race they actually make up quite a bit of spots, and so this is something that would help them, and so just kind of so you want to reward people for racecraft, not necessarily for just having the best car. So that's kind of it. All right. Nathan, we're hitting the 5-minute limit, so I will make another call.
All right.
And we'll be back. And now I will transition to the standby screen, which is just the factory thing. So, and I will call you guys back. New meeting. In the meantime, I guess... Oh, no. My headphones. My other headphones. I can. Not down here. It's a gamble. See how much time I can waste there. If you guys heard that. I don't know.
Oh, I heard it.
No, I didn't.
Okay. All right, let's get back to the stream. All right, we're back. We're in the middle of the F1 update.
Yes.
So we had the race started, and Max Verstappen won the sprint qualifying, so he started out in first, whereas Lewis Hamilton won qualifying, so they kind of inverted that. And so the Max gets off to a good start, but Lewis Hamilton's kind of like right behind him. At some point, Lewis Hamilton pulls ahead of Max in like a straight, but the next corner gave the advantage to Max Verstappen, so then he pulled back ahead. And then we get to what's called Copse Corner. The Silverstone's a pretty old track, so that every corner has its name, and they're kind of weird. There's like Maggots and Beckett's is a series of corners, and a bunch of stuff like that. And the
Sounds like British tavern names.
yeah. Although the longest straight on the track has been renamed to the Hamilton Straight, so after Lewis Hamilton.
Well, that makes sense.
So we get to Copse Corner. Lewis, and this corner is right before Maggots and Beckett's, which I mentioned, which is a bunch of curves, which basically means like if they get there and Lewis Hamilton is behind Max Verstappen, like Lewis Hamilton's going to have to slow down significantly to go through those corners, and by the time he gets out of the corners, Max will just be gone. So he's like, this is the only time I have to make a move. And so he gets on the inside of Max Verstappen, and then Max Verstappen kind of squeezes in on Lewis Hamilton, and then their wheels collide, and Max Verstappen goes screaming off into the wall.
Yep.
His tire falls off, and Lewis Hamilton is okay. This immediately red flags the race, so everybody pulls in. So Lewis Hamilton had some damage on his car, so they're able to repair that. So immediately, Red Bull's very pissed because the crash was very bad.
Yeah. $2
it
million,
was-
they say.
yeah, the whole car was basically total. Well, they say that the G-force that has crashed, some people are saying 51 Gs, but I think where they get that statistic from, because I learned this by watching the Pit Lane channel on the F1 TV app, is that so that if there is a crash that is above 51 Gs, there's a little blue light on the top of the car that turns on. So then everybody knows that it's at least 51 Gs because the blue light turned on.
Okay.
And that's to inform the stewards if they're coming to help somebody that like they could potentially have a head or neck injury. So that's what there is for. Christian Horner says there was like 70 Gs. Because they have these earplugs that's they can hear the radio on, but also they have measuring devices in them to measure like the G forces on them. But I don't actually know. Like the G force in the Romain Grosjean crash last year, that was like 20 Gs more than this crash.
Yeah.
But that one didn't seem so bad for him. He had to hop out of a burning car, so it didn't seem so bad. But I think what made this crash a bit worse is because Grosjean basically went straight on into a fence. And so like all your safety features are kind of built head on. Most of them, I mean, they have more safety features. Max just went like completely sideways into a wall. I mean, it was tires, but he went sideways. So I think like he got a lot of the impact because it's not really meant to be like hits. The car has less safety features getting hit from the side than it would from the front. So
Yeah.
because if they had the radio of like him like waking up, that sounded really bad.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like, Max, are you okay? And there's like this 15-second uncomfortable pause, and you just hear this, oh, fuck.
Driving a little open-wheeled car 170 miles an hour is not a safe activity. Amazing any of these guys are alive.
Yeah.
Especially that one, because that's like out of, you don't know where you're going to hit. You're just spinning in circles.
Yeah.
Which should have shed a lot of speed, too, but he wasn't very far from the wall. So.
No. And the gravel slowed him down a bit. All that gravel sprayed into the fans directly, so that was fun for them.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it was very fast. So obviously Christian Horner was really pissed.
Yeah.
And he's been, and that's where things like with all the new stuff got crazy because basically like Red Bull is like campaigning to like basically like trying to say like Lewis Hamilton put a pit maneuver on Max Verstappen and tried to kill him, and it's like absolutely not what happened.
It's racing.
Yeah.
He was racing.
Yeah, I mean this once again the excellent Jolyon Palmer analysis, he went through it and he's basically like, yeah, this is a racing incident. This happens. There was no intention or ill will here. And even he said like the 10-second penalty that Lewis Hamilton got was like a bit too harsh for what actually. But I mean that's the thing is like you have to judge like an incident as it is, not because of the result. And
Yeah,
because
get emotional.
and because the result was very bad, because the one, it's like, oh, it looked like our driver almost got killed. That makes me mad. And also, he gets no points this race. And it looks like Lewis Hamilton is probably going to win the race. And what do you know? He did. So, yeah, that's what made them extra mad. But, yeah, all of Red Bull's, like, posturing was just total bullshit. But,
There's a lot of when I think F1 now, I kind of knew it vaguely, but ever since you've introduced me to it and I started watching the races and then watching the coverage and watching things on YouTube, it's like the word prima donna pops into my mind. Like, oh yeah, these guys, some of these guys are just hardcore race guys, but a lot of them are like, they got giant egos.
oh, yeah.
Managed much like the engine in the car. It's like we got a whole team to manage this guy's ego.
Oh, yeah.
Or the team, if the drivers aren't assholes, the team managers are assholes, or it's always something.
I mean, the the crazy stuff is like when you don't really see this in Drive to Survive. You see this in like you have to fight extra stuff, but like the amount of stuff that is offloaded from these guys' day to day to basically like you don't got to go grocery shopping, you don't got to shower yourself, like. All you have to do is concentrate on driving. We'll live the rest of your life for you. It's like, oh, that's why F1 drivers are fucking insane.
They're like kings of small countries.
Yeah.
It's like they're like the Eddie Murphy, like the first coming to America. It's like, yeah, just everything's taken. They throw rose petals at your feet as you walk. It's all taken care of. But yeah.
But yeah, after the incident, actually, like Charles Leclerc pulled ahead. So actually, like Lewis Hamilton was in the lead when they red flagged the race, which is interesting. And then when they restarted the race, Charles Leclerc read the race for 50 laps, which was an amazing feat, being how terrible Ferrari was last year. And he did a really good job, especially with his engine randomly cutting out. It's like, the engine's out. Oh, it's back on, guys. Like, tell me what the problem is.
Yeah, I kept when I was watching the race, I was like, is he miscalling that? Because like it was like engine out several times. It's like, is he wrong? I mean, he's in the damn car. He probably feel the vibration. But it's like, can it be going on and off? Like maybe, I guess it can.
Yeah. I think somebody said that like there was a sensor that was essentially trying to save the engine but it was a bad sensor and it was thinking the engine was trying to destroy itself, and so it was shutting down.
A rev limiting device or something.
Yeah, and then basically he had to like while he's driving 200 miles an hour, go to the settings on his steering wheel and turn off a broken sensor.
Kind of like when the Millennium Falcon's flying into the asteroid field and they're trying to fix it, that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And
but yeah, it was
a race. Also.
Yeah. And he did a wonderful job. It's like it must almost be like really frustrating to be working for Ferrari right now. It must always be, but there's just so much pressure. But like you think Williams, like every day they come to a track and they just think like, oh yeah, we probably have no chance, and they just live with it. It's like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Ferrari, especially on this day when they know their car under very specific conditions is the best car on the grid.
Yeah.
And here in this conditions, it was good for them. And for some reason, the Ferrari worked the best on the medium tire that any other car. Like Lewis couldn't catch him. But as soon as they switched to the hard tire, their car was fucked. And Lewis just chased him down and passed him with 2 laps to go. Even with the 10-second penalty. So.
Who did the passing where they almost ran off? Was that Lewis Hamilton almost ran off the course trying to get around Leclerc?
No, Leclerc like at that. So here's a fun thing. So yeah, the posturing with the Red Bull thing. The Christian Horner kept saying like, at that corner you don't stick a wheel up in Cop's corner. And then it was also fun listening to the Pit Lane channel because there's this guy, Max Collins. He used to be a racer. He's one of their commentators, giant commentator. So I don't know, like, how is that guy a race driver? Because he's like, I don't know if they just hire really small people. He's a black guy, but he seems like he's 7 feet tall compared to everybody he does an interview with.
Like 5'9".
Yeah. I don't know. But he's funny because he's just kind of very like, things are either this way or they're not. He's very binary, and he doesn't have a whole lot of like. He's not necessarily monotone, but he's just like. But anyways, like the guy was like, "Yeah, you don't pass that Cop's corner." He's like, "I was in F3. I made passes at Cop's corner. That's total bullshit."
Yeah, he's very positive, negative. There's not like no nuance. It's like, yeah, that's bullshit, or it isn't.
Yeah, and it's also great whenever he does stuff with Will Buxton, because Will Buxton likes to build narratives so he can sell it to casual people, and then Max Collins just like, that's not how that works. Your feelings don't care about how fast the car goes.
Yeah, emotions don't win the race.
anyway, so it's almost to make a point of it. I'm not sure. So when he pits, he ends up behind Norris, who was in fourth. He passes Norris at Cop's corner, and Norris kind of like almost wiggles off the road when Hamilton's passing him. Then when he pulls up to Leclerc, passes him again at Cop's corner. All his passes he made at Cop's corner.
Where you don't pass,
Yeah.
according to some.
But so when he catches them there, I guess Leclerc was kind of caught off guard and he went off track a little bit. But I guess somebody was saying that Ferrari was kind of more actually what they're in trouble with is that they in the first stint of the race before they pitted, they used too much fuel to get that to get away from Mercedes, and then he was in a fuel saving mode and also tire saving mode at the end of the race. And so I think Lewis didn't have fresher tires. I can't remember, but he got past him with two laps to go and won the race, his home Grand Prix and his 8th British Grand Prix win. So in front of the home car,
flying around the flag, he had the Union Jack hanging out of the car as he was taking the victory lap.
Yep.
Which is you don't usually see that, so that was good for them.
So yeah, that is the British Grand Prix, and now Lewis Hamilton is 7 points away from Max Verstappen in the championship, and in the constructors it's 4 points away.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, and a fun little fuck you to Lewis Hamilton. So Sergio Perez in the sprint race, he crashed out, and so he started from the pit lane. So he's basically in last place, but even further than last place. And he had crawled his way back up to 10th place, and he's basically ready to make an attack and maybe finish 7th, 8th, or 9th, who knows. And basically out of spite, they pull him back into pits, put soft tires on his car, and make him go get the fastest lap. And so he ended up in 14th place. He gets the fastest lap of the race, but he can't take the point because he's not in the top 10. But he takes that point away from Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, okay. So no take the point then.
Yeah.
And neither can Lewis. Okay.
So they fucked Perez's race just to spite Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah. This is so Formula One.
Yeah.
And next we have the Hungarian GP.
Yep.
At the Hungaro Ring.
Oh, the Hungaro Ring. Yep.
Funny name.
And I think that was the cool race last year where it was the wet race where Lewis Hamilton he just won it on one set of tires and won the race, and he was started in 9th place and just he never pitted and won the race.
Yeah, I believe that's it. Yeah.
I think it was that because it's either that or it was the Turkey. I can't remember. So, that's next. Yeah, next week. Yeah. Next
August 1. Yeah.
Yeah, we're now in the parts where it's a race and then 2 weeks off and a race and 2 weeks off. Until I think until they come to America, then they think they're doing another triple header. I think they're doing the American Grand Prix, Mexican Grand Prix, and actually I'm not sure if they're doing Brazil or not. Oh, anyways, yeah.
It's still on the schedule.
Yeah.
Because they do the U.S. in October, and then the U.S. and the Mexican are right on top of each other.
Yeah.
And then the Saudi Arabian, and then Abu Dhabi.
Crossing my fingers, there might be 2 U.S. Grand Prix.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's a rumor. That doesn't
They
have
both
to
be
happen.
held at the same place.
Yes, I believe so. I don't think any other.
Yeah, I don't think we have multiple F1 tracks, F1 capable tracks in this country.
I mean, they've done it at different places, but I'm not sure because those F1 certifications. I'm not sure if because it's you have to pay F1 to get them to race at your track, and so it's people aren't going to bother with that.
Yeah.
I mean, they are working on a Miami Grand Prix for next year, but it's not done yet. So, So yeah, it'd be 2 at the Circuit of the Americas in San Antonio if they have it, or not San Antonio. Austin, Texas?
Austin, yeah.
Because I've looked into tickets and it's sold out for the first race, so that's why I'm hoping for a second race and maybe I can get tickets.
Yeah, it's always these things like it's like when they have major like world championship soccer things, and it's like they do a few things in America. It's like no one in America likes soccer. Yeah, go try to find tickets for that. Sold out 2 years in advance. It's like, well, somebody does.
Well, I mean, if you go to those F1 races, there's a lot of other stuff going around them, especially in America, because they want to like entice people to come. Because
Yeah.
I think because the F1 podcast I listen to, actually I listen to several, but the Shift F1 podcast, they went to a U.S. Grand Prix, and like on one of the nights, like Taylor Swift play. And like you got your ticket to the F1 race got you a concert ticket to the Taylor Swift concert. So
Oh, okay. Wow. All right.
and there's just like, you know, like all the car guys come up and there's just like car shows going on and other races you don't see that are happening. You know, like F2 races or Porsche Cup, whatever, like all that stuff is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, whenever F1 shows up, there's a lot of stuff going on around it that you don't actually like see when you just watch the F1 race. So, because I mean, they literally have like hundreds of thousands of people there.
Yeah.
Because like you can get tickets, you can get like general admission tickets. Like you don't have a seat, but you can just like walk around the area and watch the race.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And spend $70 on a Ferrari T-shirt.
Yes. Everyone has to. We had, what was the... oh, yeah, Indianapolis 500's like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think IndyCar is about to start back up because they don't have any other races in July, but I think they'll have one in the first week of August. That's, I believe, that's what, I forget where they're at, but Grosjean's going to do his first oval. So,
Oh, okay.
because some of the rumors I saw like that, like Chip Ganassi Racing or Andretti Racing are looking to hire him full time. So they're gonna. So if he gets picked up by one of those teams, he's going to need to race all the tracks. Okay.
Sorry. I was looking up something on F1. Was a video. Yeah, something about that track.
What, the Circuit of the Americas or what?
Yeah, because it was designed. It looks. It has some very unique features.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's another what they call Tilkodrome.
Oh, okay.
You won't know that. Maybe you do. I don't know. There's a guy named Herman Tilke.
Mm-hmm.
He basically designs all the F1 tracks, and at least the modern ones. And a lot of people, they call them Tilkodromes, and like some people like don't like what he makes because it's kind of like, here's a long straight into a really slow corner, and then that's all he does. But as far as I know, the Circuit of the Americas track is really neat. There's there's long straights, but then there's like a bunch of curves and stuff, and then they got some interesting features. They have this really tall, just like metal thing that looks like, I don't know, like some sort of obscure
tower.
Yeah. It looks
It's
like some.
they call it the double helix stair.
Yeah.
It looks like DNA strands winding around this thing you walk up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's fun. Sorry, I got lost there. I was reading all about the track Circuit of the Americas.
Yeah, NASCAR did a road course track there this year, and I heard it was a total shit show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's a lot of runoff area there, and basically like none of the cars could make their turns at the speed they were going, and they're just all over the fucking place.
It's one of those murder tracks. It's like, well, someone's going to get hurt.
Mm.
And I believe like that's a lot of the new car they're working on will help change that. I forget what all I also heard that's why like Chip Ganassi Racing was getting out of NASCARs because of the new regulation changes. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this might fuck us. Let's get out.
Now's our chance.
Yeah, forget all the changes. Basically, it's like I forget because it's like NASCAR already has really close racing, but I forget like the new aerodynamics of the cars will like allow them to like race even closer and not be so sensitive, I guess, because there is, I guess, NASCAR stuff. It's like it's very hard to contemplate like how it works, but it's like those cars are like really aero sensitive, even though they seem like they're just boxes driving in a circle. But
yeah. There's some kind of aerodynamic changes they're making so they don't get sucked into one another.
yeah,
So you don't get that dead space, right around the car where if you get too close, you just get pulled into them. Because you've seen that happen plenty of times where they'll be passing close and all of a sudden they'll hit the dead zone where the air is moving over the car so fast it's like it's another force and you get sucked right into the side of the guy and you both go into the wall.
trying to do that side drafting.
Well, that's how what's his name died, just going into a wall like that.
Dale Earnhardt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So that
But I
was
know a
it.
lot more about F1 than I do about NASCAR. So
Yeah, I'm not following. I'm not following NASCAR. Yeah, I'm just it's on the because when you follow F1, you just get all kinds of racing stuff that's kind of interesting. So, a lot of YouTube tech channels that I've watched stuff on. So,
yeah, F1's like it's one of those. It's like that's pinnacle. It's apex racing. It's like IndyCar. It's like it doesn't get a lot better, faster, dangerous than that. Just IndyCar seems to have like hundreds of participants, where F1 is like there's a core group.
yeah.
It takes years and years, even as an F1 driver, to become a good F1 driver.
Unless you're Lewis Hamilton.
Unless you're the Michael Jordan of F1, you're right in there. So we watched a movie this week.
Yeah.
Yep.
We watched this very weird movie.
Hey, Nathan.
Yeah,
This movie's fucking weird.
yeah, this movie's really weird. And Brian De Palma's kind of hit or miss, but I like some of his stuff. I'm not gonna say I hated this, but
No.
I was kind of I didn't know who to like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the main guy who I don't know the character name nor the actor's name. I don't like
Sully.
I don't like him as an actor, but he's great at playing a pathetic piece of shit.
You would know Jake Scully if you listen to, or I'm sorry, you would know Craig Wasson if you listen to a lot of Stephen King audiobooks.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The voice of the Stephen King audiobooks after the last guy got killed in a motorcycle wreck or something.
Huh.
So I remember this as soon as I heard this guy talking, I'm like, oh yeah, this is the guy who narrated the Kennedy one, that 11/26, whatever,
Yeah.
the Kennedy assassination one. Yeah, so that's and then I found out like, oh yeah, that's him. And there's also weird houses in the Hollywood Hills or somewhere.
Oh yeah, like because I mean this is a LA centric movie, and like I don't know if all this architecture is in LA or if they found something out, but it's like I've never seen this LA before. It's like very interesting. So
Yeah, the house that he's in is called the Chemosphere. And it's actually just some ultra modern like home that they designed around it. That was designed in the 60s. It's been around a long time. It's still there.
Huh.
I guess it's really expensive to maintain though.
yeah.
And the reason it was built that way is somebody had that land that had a beautiful view of the whole city, but you couldn't build on it because it was at such a pitch. And this one guy was like, I can design a house we can put there. So yeah, it looks like a flying saucer house.
But yeah,
With a tram.
But yeah, no, the movie we're talking about is Body Double, directed
Yes.
by Brian De Palma.
And this is what he did right after Scarface. Remember that? Well, he had a 3-movie deal because of Scarface was so well received. But after this movie, he lost that 3-movie deal. So
This is written by Brian De Palma as well, so it's probably he's write what you know. So it takes place in Hollywood, and he loves Hitchcock, so he just basically steals a bunch of Hitchcock stuff and mixes it up with sex, and it's like this is basically Rear Window but with more sex.
Yeah, it's Rear Window with boobs. Lots of boobs.
Boob window.
And like women masturbating on camera. There's nothing in this that's like hardcore, but for the time that this came out in '84, and I was watching this movie, and I was like looking at my door, like, do I want people to know I'm watching it? It's kind of weird, you know.
And well, I also believe Brian De Palma in like his early career did a lot of like softcore stuff.
He must have, because this movie's full of.
He got Dennis Ferrand's essentially doing a Brian De Palma impression, although I'm not sure because I've actually heard Brian De Palma speak before, but like the Action Boys, they always talk about Brian De Palma, and they almost like they imitate him almost like he's Dr. Demento, but I don't actually know how Brian De Palma sounds like. But I always assumed he was a French director just because of the name sounds French.
Yeah.
But you know, he's an American. When he was a kid, he used to build his own radios, and then he went in the army, was a radio guy in the army, and then he got out and started making movies.
Yeah. He could make French movies though. He's kind of like. He's always kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You know?
Yeah. And excellent. He always has excellent cinematography in his movies, and this, you know, fits the bill too. There's a lot of great cinematography here. Also a lot of just trying shit too. So
Yeah.
And then the Action Boys, I forget how they categorize De Palma, but it's like what a valuable pervert that Brian De Palma is. And it's basically, and like they basically say he's like, you know, if you have any kind of like voyeuristic stuff in your movie, it's like Brian De Palma A+. Like everything he makes, it's like, you know, you shouldn't be watching when you're watching a Brian De Palma movie, like you shouldn't be watching this, and that's like how he shoots his movies.
Yeah, but to be fair, this is billed as a erotic thriller.
Yeah.
Kind of an erotic Hitchcock. So that's what that's what I went into it thinking that, but I didn't know I was gonna like dislike the main character because he just seemed like a pervy weirdo.
Yeah.
Like at first I have sympathy for him because he's like he's this actor. He's kind of a failed actor. His claustrophobia cost him his job on the weird vampire movie because he couldn't be in the coffin or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to get some hot dogs and go home and see my wife. And well, he didn't know he lost his job then, but he's going to go home and see his wife and his dog. And, and he comes home and his wife's having like just like a porno sex scene with some guy.
Yeah.
And, so of course that upsets him. And he leaves and he's looking for a place to live. And
well, he also goes to an acting class, which is
a weird psychodrama acting class.
Yeah, it's more of like a therapy session, but as an acting class, but it doesn't help him therapeutically.
No, recall your greatest terror and act. It's like it just seems like weird acting class stuff. I don't know.
But it does set up the whole like claustrophobia. It's
Yeah.
like, why did he get weird? It's like, oh, so this is like his kryptonite is the claustrophobia and we'll reintroduce that. So
yeah.
All right, Andrew, what are your first impressions? Do you have any history with Body Double or Brian De Palma?
Scarface is fine. I don't hate that movie, but I don't love it. That's probably the only Brian De Palma film I've seen besides now this Body Double.
Mission Impossible?
Oh, I didn't know that was a Brian De Palma movie. I hate that one. So, 2 strikes.
Are you Snake Eyes? Are you Snake Eyes?
I don't remember that movie well enough.
Did we make you watch Blowout?
Oh, that was Brian De Palma? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, 1 ball.
Yeah, no. Brian De Palma is very hit or miss. It's usually the production of his stuff is good, but like the story is usually falls apart at some point. So, he also did Carrie. He did Carrie.
I didn't see that, so.
Oh, okay.
I read the book. I haven't seen the movie.
Huh.
A first for everything, right? I've seen the movie, but I haven't read the book. That happens all the time. I've read the book, but I haven't seen the movie. That doesn't happen as much. Um,
Well, I mean,
but-
both have been around for decades. So you got to get to one,
Yeah.
I guess.
Anyway, what was I gonna say? As far as like this movie as a whole, this would never be made today. There would be no fucking way this would ever see the light of day. But that's what I like about it. It's very fucking weird. You don't, like you said, you don't really like the character, but you sympathize with him at the same time. He seems to be really horrible at rescuing people. Especially the first murder where it's like he just keeps watching until it's way too late to even effect a rescue. It's like he didn't even try and do anything. But then the detective's like, God damn it, who would have called the police? Everybody'd still be alive. But then he tries to inform the police the second time, and then they just try and fucking arrest him. So he runs off into the reservoir to effect a shitty escape of the next victim.
I like though. He's like, he tries to get the joggers like, come help me, we need to save this woman, and then they just disappear, like they never show up.
Yeah.
Well, they show up when the dog's mauling them down.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
And then they show up again, leaving as he's being interviewed and grilled by the detective. But yeah, I mean, I really like this movie as far as like recommendations go. I would recommend people watch this, not because it's like the story's really out there and you don't see it anymore. It's just like the mashup of the film in general just kept me guessing the entire time. I didn't know what the fuck I was watching.
Yeah,
because-
you can't predict this movie.
No.
So it's like as soon as the woman died, I was like, there's still like almost 50 minutes left in this movie. What the fuck else are we gonna talk about here? Because I figured,
Like a two-handed pneumatic drill to kill someone. That's a weird death implement. But that's Brian De Palma. He's a lot of gory violence in his movies.
but at the same time, I figured maybe it would be him more investigating it since the detective didn't seem that interested in it. And it was, but not in the angle I expected. I didn't expect him to go work in a porno to deep dive into
the movie just becomes a music video. It's like,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah, when they're like, and that is I think that's the guy who actually sings that song that was in the intro or in the that weird porno scene. What's that? Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think that was actually the guy that sung that song.
Okay.
So that's because it was basically it was like being introed into a gay leather bar, but there's like a room that says sluts above it.
Yeah.
You go in there and you pick the woman, and it's like, yeah, this guy's willing to support his investigation by becoming a porn star, and then trying to pick up the Melanie Griffin. Her porn actor's name is Holly Body, and so then after they do the porn shoot or whatever, then he comes in and he looks like Bill Maher. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Slicked his hair back to look like the porn guys. It's like, when did Bill Maher come into this movie? It was still Craig Wasson.
New role.
Like the only shot I didn't like in the movie was when he like rescues the purse or whatever, and then they kind of kiss and the camera twirls around them forever. It's like, really? Like, I think you could better ways to suggest that he's really entrapped by her and stuff.
Well,
At that
So
point of the movie, I started to wonder, like, is this a dream sequence?
Yes.
yeah, that's what I
exactly.
thought too. Yeah.
Like,
I thought it was intentionally disorienting because like there's no way this is fucking happening.
Thanks for getting my purse and guiding you out of the tunnel, weird person who was following you. And pull our top down. It's like, I don't think that happens. That's no world I've ever encountered, but I've never lived in LA either. I've never
Yeah, I
been
mean,
a
it's the-
looking actor. So
I like this movie. I'd watch it again just because, like, I like the weird turns it takes, and even the ending's not like that fucking like cliche where it's just like he doesn't really save the day. He just kind of overcomes his fear and lucks out, but then at the same time trying to help Holly Body out of the grave and stuff like that. She's like, "Get the fuck away from me!" And the movie just ends with like her stuck in a grave and him going, "Come on, I'm not gonna kill you." And that's the end of the movie.
yeah,
Like, there's not really a lot of like. There's
No,
grand
it
really-
ends on the when during the credits and they have like he's finishing the vampire movie. That's the real end of the movie, and then Holly Body shows up at the end. Is like she's like some associate producer, and you're like, is any of this real?
Oh, okay. I guess I didn't watch all the credits. That's why I didn't.
it made me think, like, is this a dream sequence too, or what am I
Yeah.
seeing?
Which almost gives it kind of like a David Lynch kind of flair, even though this precedes David Lynch. But it's like I don't know if this is happening or not, and he just goes with it. It's like,
Yeah, this movie is such a, and it has a cool soundtrack. And
Yeah, it
the
does.
best parts of the soundtrack are when he's being a pervert and watching a woman do a dance and some kind of masturbation routine through a telescope he's watching, and it plays like this it kind of has this synth soundtrack, and it's like,
yeah.
oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. When that
Yeah,
first
that's the
started, I
thing,
thought,
because like this is a guy perving, he's invading someone's privacy, but everything around it makes it seem like this is magic, guys. Like, here's this cool music. He's kind of happy, but and that's where like Brian De Palma is like excels. Is like, yeah, this is voyeurism. This is what you want to feel, and you're not supposed to.
yeah, that's what you want to see when you're perving out looking at your neighbors. But you never do. It's always someone sitting in a chair, eating or something. You don't get like a sexy dance, but you find out it was all contrived. So it was like he was always the victim of this. It's like you think he's doing something bad and getting away with it. It's like, no, he's the victim in this at the end. He's being set up for a murder he didn't commit by a guy in a. I can see where the masks, the rubber masks in Mission Impossible is like, oh, is this where this idea came from? The bad guy in this, who's his supposed new friend who he's house sitting for, is also wearing a mask, and they keep calling him the Indian, like he's a Native American or something. Which I didn't think he really looked like a Native American, but everyone's calling him an Indian.
I mean, like, well, because like the way the mask wrinkles, it's like he kind of looks like an old Indian, but like not necessarily. He more looks like he is like he got acid dropped on his face, not necessarily that he's Native American.
He looks like a rough guy who's had rough stuff happen, like he was drugged behind a truck or something at some point. But yeah, it was. But
and
yeah,
did they ever give a motive for like why the guy did it?
he just wanted to kill his wife because his wife, I think his wife had all the money.
Because there's a thing. So like when the guy first sees, I can't remember the actor's name. He's basically like a poor man's James Caan. That's what he looks like.
Greg Henry, but yeah.
Okay. You'll recognize him in a bunch of stuff, but
Oh yeah.
he basically looks the same age in every movie. He's
Yeah,
like
he's an
he's like almost balding. But
He's an ageless, like Hollywood actor guy.
yeah. So when he first sees him, it's in the acting class, and like when he sees what's the guy's name? The main guy.
Jake.
When Scully. When Scully's like doing his acting, like he's like you see him and the way he's reacting to it, he's like almost like turned on by it. Like, yeah, this guy's fear turns me on. And it's like almost like that he contrived this whole this whole thing to as like some sort of like, well, I can kill my wife and I can get turned on by this guy's fear. Like I don't know, maybe I'm adding too much into the movie, but I was like, because like why this guy doesn't, or he's just looking for people he could set up. I'm not sure.
Yeah, his motives aren't like super clear, but then again, kind of the dream-like reality that this movie presents, it's like maybe that's just not important.
Yeah,
yeah. Like it's because we don't know what's going on and what isn't. And I could totally be misreading that, but
I mean, as far as I know, that the movie never directly tells you that any of this is not happening or it's a dream sequence. As far as we know, everything that's shown is happening.
just in a weird way.
Yeah.
But like I said, when he's in that weird house with the rotating bed, the spaceship house, and he's looking through that thing, and they're playing that synth music, it's like, oh yeah, this is all the '80s. This is condensed '80s. You can. This is what passes back then. Because you couldn't make this movie today, not like this.
No.
I mean, it would be. It's like again, these people.
Unless you gender swapped it, or it's directed by a woman and she has a vision.
Yeah, it'd be weird to like have a woman looking through a telescope at like some man
Jerking off
himself. It's not as. Not as
yeah,
cool.
you'd never see his face. That's
You
all.
should be in the- you should
That's
be in the
all.
same attire. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
You should be in the same attire: stockings, jewelry, bathrobe, just doing the same exact dance.
Oh, that'd be weird. But it's turning the other woman on.
Yeah.
The boy or woman is turned on by that.
No, I mean that's like you said. That's how you make it appropriate. You make it a gender or woman doing her vision, but also kind of like a gay cross-dressing thing to make it PC. And then no one's offended. Like, are you offended by that gay guy jerking off the way he wants to jerk off? And it's like, actually, no, I'm not.
But the whole thing is like the woman who is the conceit is that the woman who was dancing and putting on the show wasn't the actual wife. It was the porn actress Holly Body, which he like that's the only way that's put together is like he's just like going through the guy's porn at the house and it's like wait a minute, but he never like states it out loud. He's just all of a sudden like joining a porn set and it's like what's going on?
Yeah.
I do like the interaction at the restaurant or wherever they're at, where like he runs into somebody in his acting circle and she was asking about work.
Oh yeah.
And then like she literally like gets the number from a porn director from Holly Body, and then she was like, "Do you like working with ladies?" And she's like, "Well, work's work." She's like, "That's the spirit." And then like they try and leave again, and she is like, "What's the movie about?" She's like, "That's what we need in this business: more people with a sense of humor." And it just like leaves.
Well, it's a penis mystery. Yeah, it was fun. That was fun. Those two people were just talking right past each other, but didn't know it.
Yeah.
But there's been after watching Werewolf Within last night with a lot of good quips in it, where it's like, oh, that was lightning fast, and that was funny. They did some similar things in this movie a little bit, where they had really good lightning fast like jokes and stuff. So it's kind of weird to see in a movie that seems serious but also lighthearted at the same time. Did you catch that or when did you watch Werewolf Within, Colin? Because I know you're the one that put it on there.
I think 2 weeks ago, basically the week after the Tomorrow War came out, because that guy's in that too, and I bought that and watched that.
Well, because there was a couple segments in there where like the gay couple have really good lines, because they're getting volunteers to go get the hunter out of his cabin and shit like that, and like really quickly you hear the gay couple say, "We're trying to get pregnant," or whatever it is. Like, that's an excuse for not leaving. It's like,
Werewolf Within isn't necessarily like the best movie, but the characters are so fucking weird that it's very funny.
No, I know. That's why I like most about that movie. It had a lot of good funny parts to it, more than the werewolf aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the interesting thing about that movie is like, essentially, until they directly state it, you don't actually know. Like it's basically just like it's just a thought bubble. It's like they put the idea in, it's like maybe it's werewolves, but like throughout the whole movie, it's like there's nothing that gives you a direct indication that like it is werewolves until it is werewolves. And I like that like it's based on a video game, but like it like almost isn't. Like this almost has nothing. The video game that it's based on almost has nothing to do with this movie other than the premise. And it's a VR video game too. Like it's like four people, you sit around and somebody knows that they're a werewolf and you're basically trying to suss it out in a VR situation, and then oh no, somebody's a werewolf. And it's not even like modern day, it's like old timey or whatever. You old shoppy times.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was also weird to see a movie produced by Ubisoft.
Isn't that a first, or is that like the second, third time that happened?
It's first, as far as I know.
Okay, I didn't know if there's other times video game companies have produced a movie, because I was like, that seems weird.
Well, I mean, like I don't know, like if Nintendo was involved with like Mario Brothers at all, or they just kind of gave their blessings. But this one, it's like straight up, here's the Ubisoft logo. They made a movie.
No, that's what I was going for. I don't think I've ever seen a movie with a video game logo in the screen titles.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the first, but at the same time, I might be wrong. The Assassin's Creed movie had a big Ubisoft thing before it.
I don't think so, but I've only I attempted to watch that one time, and I don't remember it being there.
No, I attempted to watch it one time too, and I don't remember it being there either.
But yeah, with Body Double, that scene where the lady gets murdered, like she gets a drill just like right through her, but like she's in the room above, and you see the drill like the camera's pointed up, and you see the drill come through the ceiling, and it just starts pouring blood. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Very effective.
Yeah. Like, I've never seen that before. That was an interesting shot. And death and all that. Or even like the drop, the build up to that happening. There's a part where he's like just coming at her, but you see like the extension cord getting taut and it gets pulled out, and they just extend the scene like just 5 more minutes just doing that.
Yeah, and yeah, he's laying on the floor watching it. It's like, yeah, it was good. It was kind of shocking. It's like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it's like this woman you think's gonna be like, one of the main characters of the movie. He's like, well, now she's dead. Where's the movie going? It's like, nowhere you expect it to. And I don't think that like Frankie Goes to Hollywood song, I've never seen anything from this movie, but I didn't know that song was so prominently used here. You think like you'd just inadvertently see spots from this movie, because like I don't think I've seen that song like ever used like as prominently in a movie before. I mean, it's like been in everything, is like, they just, the start of that song is in like every kind of like 80s thing, is just to like indicate like we're in the 80s now, but then the song fades away. I've never seen it like basically, now we're going to take time to make a music video out of this.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the 4 music videos released for that song. Because that's I forget, there's one that was made like, because it's a British band, I think.
Yeah.
And it's basically about like going to a gay leather bar or something. It's like that kind of stuff. So there's like a European version of the video, there's an American version of the video, there's the body double version of the video, and then there was one shot somewhere else. But yeah, those are the actual band members were all in that at one point or another.
But I don't know, like, because I always associate like music licensing as being expensive. I don't necessarily see this as being like an expensive movie, and like when that shows up, it's like, do they blow all their money on this? But I don't know what music licensing was at that time. But
yeah,
yeah, probably not where it was today. But yeah, probably not.
I mean, that band essentially got a free music video out of it. So
yeah, probably.
And it's their best music video, because whether music video has a door with sluts over it.
Yeah. So they have, so that was an interesting, like, weird side tunnel, this move, because you're not expecting that. You're expecting like, oh, he's gonna have some awkward porn scene with this lady and talk to her somehow. It's like, well, we're gonna go full production, Well,
and also like immediately after that, because he still like looks like him, how he's looked in the rest of the movie, and immediately after that, that's when he does the slick back thing. So he's basically like a completely different person. He like pretends to be a producer and all that. And it's like, did the movie just change all of a sudden and everybody's different and there's new roles and they didn't tell us? Like,
yeah, that's one of the jarring things with this movie. Like, don't know if this is real or not. Is this a nightmare he had in the coffin about where his life could go? Overcome his fear, or,
Maybe. That's a good metaphor, because like they even have the pep talk at the end where it's like you think it's him like psyching himself up to like act and not be claustrophobic anymore, but it could just be that happened in real life, and he's just still thinking about where he could have been. That motivates him to do what he needs to do in the movie. I don't know. It's like you said before, it's really weird turn, especially if I watched the credit scenes. I probably would have actually thought the movie was even better than it was.
Yeah, you would have got even bigger tits to scene if you watched the credit scene.
Half
that. Yeah, it just that ending credit scene is basically like the camera's pointed at her tits, and they're just like, and then just blandly going through production things, and then it's back to the weird, sexy vampire movie. And Dennis Franz being like, "Yeah, that's good."
Keep your hand right there. Don't move it. Got to frame the shot.
And, then the lady comes in to be the body double because she has bigger boobs, and plasters on the screen, body double.
So yeah, it's an interesting, weird little movie that definitely dates itself, but is also cool.
There's a lot of like I'm not sure. Well, I haven't seen every Brian De Palma, but like if you think of like this and Blowout, there's like Blowout also has like a protagonist who's like involved in in making films and stuff like that, and then like and they torture a thriller out of it. Although Blowout's a better movie, but this is a weirder movie.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie's just strange.
Yeah.
With no, but very beautifully shot and
Oh yeah.
and enthralling to see, and very well costumed, and very the main actor, I think he played the role as he was meant to. I don't like he was bad. I just think he was not meant to be like, he wasn't the action hero guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was like just an every man who happens to work in Hollywood. And,
He's a working actor.
yes, stare at women through telescopes. But he was really trapped into doing it.
Yeah, he was set up.
He was not trapped into taking that other woman's underwear out of the garbage and putting it in his pocket. That was, I understand why they did that, to make the cops more suspicious. That also made him look like a fucking sicko.
Or follow her around the mall for like half an hour, and that whole scene is just tense because like you don't want him to get caught, but you don't want him to follow her around anymore, but you don't want the other weird guy to do whatever. So.
Yep.
And there was that cool hillside, I don't know, house or whatever that was interesting.
Oh, the Chemo Dome.
Yeah.
Called.
Like I've never seen that before.
Yeah, I've seen that house, but never like used in a movie. Chemosphere.
Oh no, not that one. There's the one like the house that she's at when he's at the beach, like that weird like layered
The
step
motel
house.
thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, where it's like climbs up the side of the mountain.
Yeah. Like I've never seen something like that before.
A lot of earthquakes out there to be in homes like that.
Oh. We got 5 minutes, so should we bring the show to the end?
Yep. So anyway, the Body Double. Check it out. And that's all I have for this week.
All right.
Yep.
So this week for the American Greed Factory podcast, this is Nathan.
This is Colin.
Andrew.
Goodbye, America.